Welcome back everyone to the channel today, and today we have a very exciting guest, Joel, the CEO of SIMBAChain. Thank you for joining us, Joel.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So we're just going to dive straight into it. How about you just give us a quick introduction on yourself, your background, and what SIMBAChain does?
Yeah, so SIMBAChain started in 2018. So my co-founder, Dr. Ian Taylor, who's a professor at the University of Notre Dame, actually a professor at Cardiff in Wales as well. We got together and we had previously had submitted a proposal to DARPA, which we won as DARPA's first blockchain project. If you're not familiar with DARPA, DARPA is like the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, so it's kind of a mouthful, but it's like the skunk works of the Department of Defense for the U.S. and like that's where autonomous cars started. There was an autonomous challenge, $1 million challenge years and years ago before Google got into autonomous vehicles. This is like back in the 90s, and that kind of stemmed a lot of things. And then ARPANET or DARPANET, DARPA kind of was the beginning of the internet, and that connecting computers to create servers and this kind of DNS capability. And so they had this call out, and we were like, I had done some Bitcoin mining, but that was about as much as I'd gotten into from a blockchain standpoint. And Ian spent more than 20 years in distributed computing, so he was like, could pick this up a lot faster than I could. I'm a mechanical, electrical, and computer software programmer from my background, and went to school for operations management, so more like business, manufacturing, supply chain. And so I'll get into where that all kind of connects into what Simba's doing now. But so we kind of put this together and ended up winning. And yeah, we just said, wow, after the end of that project, it was really difficult to build. There wasn't a lot of APIs and RESTful things that are, programmers to really have tooling around. And Truffle Suite and things have done a great job about all that. But we would try to how can we make an up a level where like business analysts and people that maybe aren't programmers could start utilizing blockchain. And so that's where we're like, let's make this stuff easy. And that's where Simba came, simple blockchain applications. And that's where we kind of came up with the name, and Ian actually came up with the name. So that was where we started. And yeah, so we kind of we were like full into this, government and defense blockchain building now. It's like, it's crazy how it's taken over our company. But we're definitely an enterprise, and education as our other verticals. So
it's pretty amazing how much business development pipeline you've achieved with, in particular, the Department of Defense. It's frankly incredible. I don't think I've ever seen any other blockchain company that's achieved the level of engagement that you guys have gotten to.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it's definitely been a long time in the making. So like the original proposal for the DARPA, it was 2 years before we even created the company, so it was like 2016. And so we basically took that phase of small business innovation research and built it out into now what is a $9.5 million contract with NAVWAR with the Navy. So yeah, it definitely took a lot of business development and time and execution to build all that out, but it definitely paid off in the end. And now we have these multi-million-dollar contracts, and trying to execute and just make it more simplistic for the government to understand, and why they need to have like custody of assets inside their own agencies. And so who owns what? And that's like, you think a lot of all these networks are connected, and they're really not. They're very disparate networks and data silos and things like that. So it's been exciting. We've got me and Ian can't take all the credit. We have the most amazing team that we have built over our lifetime. I think really is like basically we've hired people that we've had connections and research projects over the years. And then the network with Notre Dame and Cardiff University, and just like having that kind of help. So we definitely did not do this in a vacuum, and it's been like, for all of me and Ian's work, it's like there's like 100 people behind us, helping us. So that's what's pretty cool.
And so basically, there's years and years of compounded research and experience and exposure to different verticals of thought that came into SIMBAChain and brought this graphical based modeling to light.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where we keep on building. We have some new stuff that's coming out that's called, we call it concurrent extract transform load, because we have to be able to ingest things into, so it's what you know as ETL. We call it CETL, kettle. But what's interesting is like you have to be able to bring things into the blockchain, right? So and so that's where that's coming in. So we started this process, and then the graphical querying of the blockchain is the same way we do the building of the smart contracts. So you can build your smart contracts in like a Visio kind of way where you drag and drop, but then we can also now query back that same way where it is using GraphQL to query that back across. So
we saw that with your recent update too. You're fully integrating GraphQL. That's gonna be really fun to play with. Yeah,
we really, and some of the next generation is like letting the user build their own, like Power BI for Microsoft. You can build your own analytics, and that's where our Power Apps integration comes in. So we have Microsoft Power Apps integration, and you can basically build a Power BI interface in a dashboard off your smart contract.
That's so cool. That's so cool.
Yeah.
So just to reiterate, so basically SIMBAChain is a platform, or smart contract as a service is your main offering, and your purpose is to help alleviate a lot of those, I guess you would call dev issues and headaches entering the blockchain space. Like there's a lot of intricacies and toolkits you need, and so you guys have built like a visual development tool. Could you just give us like a quick overview of basically how that works, so for people who don't know?
Sure. Yeah, so what happens is, and you can go to app.simbachain.com and log into our website, but what happens is you can go in there and you will first be presented with a dashboard, and that's a dashboard that shows you like all the apps that you've launched and the transactions that you've done and different things like that. From there, you then go, this is a freemium platform, so anybody can go to SIMBAChain and create a login and go, and then we just restrict on how many transactions you can do a day. And people, you can invite people, so it's like Dropbox. So you can invite people to collaborate with you inside your apps, and then they can invite you to collaborate on their apps, and then you can create organizations, and that's kind of how we built it. Kind of just thinking about all these different cool SaaS platforms that are out there, and how do we make them collaborative.
Bootstrapping adoption.
Yeah, exactly. You're right. Yeah, and just kind of listen to the customer. What's good, what's bad. How do we make it better, and take those results. And then you can go into our smart contract. It's Solidity, and we have Stellar too, but Stellar is orthogonal to Ethereum virtual machines. So, which is most of like what we support. So, they have like different operations. So they have a set in like a smart like we call it Ethereum like Turing complete, whereas Stellar is like has these set operations that you can
opcodes. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so that's but if you go to the Solidity smart contract designer, you can then drag and drop and create your own assets and transactions and the relationships, and then it auto generates the Solidity code for you. So and then you can expose that, and you can go into Pro, like basically you can take that to Truffle Suite and then do something more with it, more complicated,
like fiddle with the individual syntax.
Exactly.
Rather than just like depend on your pre-built generated code.
Yep, exactly. And we have Truffle Suite integration, which we'll be launching at the TruffleCon in November, so people can go to that virtual event and see that happen. So that's exciting. But the other thing what you can do is it auto generates on the fly a specific custom API, which is a RESTful API, which it's all in JSON, but it exposes where you can just program right to the blockchain. So that API that's generated will work with, like we're going to talk about Quant. It'll work with Hyperledger, Fabric EVM, or Burrow. Anything that's like basically Ethereum based. So Ethereum based and Ethereum virtual machine based, and it'll do like all the Ethereum test networks, mainnet, It does Binance Smart Chain, which is the so Rialto, which is their test network that's launched right now. But it'll easily, and we do RSK, which is Smart Bitcoin,
which is also EVM as well.
EVM, so side chain to Bitcoin, so we just kind of support all these different blockchains. And your API never changes that way. It's like that custom. Well, you can modify it just based on your smart contract. So we tie it to the smart contract methods. But when you go back and edit it, it regenerates on the fly, and you get your new customized API for your smart contract, and that will work with, like I said, Ethereum, Hyperledger, Fabric EVM, Burrow, all these other blockchains.
So in essence, can you like build out like a static API address, kind of like you would a static IP address for this application?
Exactly. Yeah, you get a customized API, so it'd be like api.simbachain.com/Luke or Dean or whatever. Yeah.
HTTPS like resolver.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can set different API keys as well inside our dashboard. So like Luke can give it to whoever, and he can give specific API keys to those different users to have access, or to an application to access that API that then connects to his, his DApp essentially, and then have that communication. So, and you can also submit. We also inside our smart contract generator, you can set what public addresses can actually interact with that smart contract. So you can set permissions around that smart contract.
Right.
That's awesome.
If they don't have that. If they don't have that,
that's completely off chain.
And that's actually on chain.
That's on chain.
Yeah. So that public address then gets put on chain, so then it knows only these addresses can interact with that smart contract.
Oh, that's so cool.
So it really locks it down on a mainnet. So you don't, we do that because we like kind of put. Like Simba likes to put the guardrails up for people. There's a lot of security. Like obviously we're seeing in DeFi right now, right? I mean, it's just what's going on, and like all this stuff that's happening. It's just a shame, and I feel bad for some of the people in the community that get stuck with the bag. But we got to put these guardrails up for people that are just entering this and puts proper security around the smart contracts. So that's one of the things we do is like I said, just put that only these public addresses can communicate or interact with the smart contract.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Awesome. So you in essence are using a permissionless platform for publishing your code, but you can make it permissioned by design. Right.
Exactly. Yeah. And then on top of all this, we have our enterprise offering, which can be completely done. We have Kubernetes deployment, or we have containerized Docker container. So you can take it to Google, you can take it to AWS, you can take it to Azure, or you can get it on-prem. And so you can package the entire Simba, platform and put that on-prem.
And in a container, and then have it on any cloud or on-premise, like you're saying.
Right, exactly. And so then that really helps if you are just working with distributed ledgers like Hyperledger, Fabric, you can do that. Or you can, take a consensus quorum and set up the nodes and different things like that, which is what we're doing for our government enterprise customers, because they only have like a certain consortium that are going to communicate with their blockchain. It's not public. Right. So it's like, that's where their focus is at. So
just on that point, we see that a lot in the enterprise and sort of space a lot, where they're all kind of in their own closed loop permissions chain. Do you have any major use cases you see that they're using public chains or permissionless chains?
Yeah, there is, and we'll be coming out with more of those, but it definitely has to do with like our Tokes Coffee. They have 200 different restaurant locations and actually control their own supply chain of coffee all the way to the farms. And we have some cool videos on our YouTube channel that show that. And we were actually at Microsoft Inspire. It was one of the key videos that were shown with the Microsoft for Startups. So they showed that video, and it kind of told the story about how they want to make sure they have sustainable growth for the future, and they're big into. They're one of the UN working groups, United Nations working group for sustainability. Tokens. So, but they're a great partner, one of our enterprise clients, and basically showing the customer all the way down to like making sure the farmers are getting paid what they need to get paid, and varying showing that quality of the coffee bean, because there's like
I think they call it a fair wage, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
A fair wage. You know, you hear about free trade coffee, but does the consumer really know it's free trade or fair trade coffee? And that's where they're trying to like show that more visibility into the supply chain. So you, as a consumer, you're not going to see like all the transactions that happen through distribution and stuff, but you can validate like, hey, this came from such and such, and here's the farm and things like that to show the quality of the bean.
Gotcha.
So yeah, so that's really where we're trying to come down to, and eventually there's like ways to provide tips back to the farmers and different things like that. So there's a lot of things that are being explored, but we got to set up the network too to kind of provide this peer-to-peer distribution.
Yeah, and people have to know where the bean comes from to start off with, to even begin a relationship like that.
Exactly. Yep.
Cool.
So this sounds really similar to also like the stuff Walmart is doing, and the I think it's the FDA and their DSCSA. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah, we're definitely familiar with Walmart, what they're doing, and it's and everybody has the same use case. It's like they want to know where stuff is coming from. They want to know, and obviously the DoD is big into that. Like they want to know the non-conforming materials. Supply chains are extremely deep. Like 20
and complicated.
Yeah, and complicated, 25, 30 layers. So yeah, it's very complicated, and it requires a lot of diligence in building these kind of networks and setting them up and making sure that there's security and visibility around what's going on. So and that gets into like the zero knowledge proofs and the zero trust and all that stuff, and then identities. You hear about
self-sovereign identity.
Yeah, that's huge, because how do we allow, like, this person may trust this person, but this person may not know this person, but this you can build trust around.
And that's where the notion of verifiable credentials comes in.
Right.
And you can have someone say, I have this cryptographically provable credential of them saying this about me.
Right.
And then they can own that, and that's huge.
Yeah, exactly. And we're looking at, even from the education side, we're starting to do badging around, like when the students take courses, can take this credential, and there's no like calling a college for their transcripts to be transferred. It's just like, here, take this credential, and people put on the resumes, it's a piece of paper, but like, I took this class or whatever, but how do you know? Well, now you can hash and
verify that.
And verify it. Yeah. So that's where we're going, and we're building out stuff that is on our platform that people can just reuse, that kind of technology as we add it.
So I have a question with regard to, just to take us a different route, back to something you were mentioning. So you're mainly compatible with the EVM based chains. Yeah. Like it was Burrow, I think Bisu is on the roadmap, yes, and then Ethereum itself and RSK. Is there a situation in which you can see a different virtual machine being necessary to for you to support a different type of virtual machine in the future?
Yeah, so we are working on so Bisu, Hyperledger Bisu is Java, and so what we're looking at, it's not a Geth like consensus quorum. So what we're looking at there is providing some of these, basically our smart contract generators will be agnostic on, it won't just generate Solidity. It could generate Java, JavaScript, Go, basically any type of language. And then that's what will get deployed. Now our API will always auto-generate in Swagger, which we support Swagger 3.0, version 3.0, which is like pretty agnostic as well. So so that's kind of where we're heading, is to remain that kind of agnostic, where we auto generate different kinds of code, and even if you freeform code, so you go to our pro version, we still auto generate the endpoints.
Yeah, that's what question we had.
Yeah, you don't have to do it around our stuff. You could freeform code, and we still create endpoints for those constructs and structs.
So what I was wondering was, if you have a contract that is, built in Solidity or built, on the EVM, and you can, it isn't made via SIMBAChain, but could, like I think the ETL, the SETL, or no, CETL.
Concurrent extract, transform, load. Yeah.
Will that level of functionality allow you guys to import a non-Simba generated contract and then graphically visualize that, and then for you to edit those components from there? Is that something possible in the future?
Yeah, exactly. That'll be definitely in the future, especially as our ETL gets better and better. Ingest that, and the users can do that like on the fly. Because what we do is in SIMBAChain, we cache all that stuff, and we have really, like, for 12 months we have worked on enterprise grade blockchain, because there's no collision of transactions. We're able to queue all those up, so as it hits, so we don't overload the chain when it gets hit. We make sure it gets put on
and they're all batched together.
They're all batched together, so we can send it incorrectly, and you don't have these collisions, because that's one thing that people might not understand, is like, you can't just deploy a dApp and like make it be robust in an enterprise grade way. It's like, you kind of need these asynchronous tools to handle all that. So we spent, like I said, 12 months just building that out specifically to make sure that's robust for enterprise grade solutions.
That's cool.
And I think Ethereum 2.0 and these other places, these other things that are coming out are going to be great. I mean, all this, the whole world of developers in this space is working on stuff. So yeah,
it definitely, there's definitely one negative feature on there, in that you're not facing the problem of scalability anymore, but you actually have to, each developer has to have a different security assumption.
Absolutely. Yes.
The shard.
Yeah.
So like that you're losing something in the upgrade, which I think, it's wise that they're not completely throwing away the ETH 1.0 implementation. Right. So you can have that monolithic reference, and then, from there you can go crazy.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So there's definitely give and take there, and we're just trying to like I've always said, like, we just like to be blockchain agnostic and try to be work with lots of different partners, because our goal is to is adoption, right? Whether which chain you kind of want to go down, different things like that. So yeah,
Luke, I think you can lead us into maybe how Quant integrates with all this.
I was going to say that's a good segue, because Quant's kind of approaching it the same way, being agnostic and building more like the toolkits and like the single interface. So obviously we're from the Quant community, and you guys are partnered. We were just wondering what your plans are with Quant and Overledger, and how they're going to fit in your tech stack, and what's they're going to help with your offering. If you could just give us a bit of a rundown.
Sure. Yeah. What we're looking at is basically this flow up from the treaty smart contracts. So these treaty contracts are basically, if you think about like a financial institution, there's executable code that is happening, and we want to make sure that's Quant and Overledger are looking at, is really making sure that's secure and that is trustable. And so whether it be like Java or something that a bank is executing on, or even COBOL, because a lot of these banks still run on like COBOL and some
Thanks, Grace Hopper.
Yeah,
appreciate it.
Cool is like we can containerize all these different things and make sure that it's there's not bad things happening or loss of funds or different things like that. So even from a central bank standpoint, as Quant has really looking into that space and in the financial institutions, but this is also in supply chain from SIMBAChain standpoint. Like I said, my background's manufacturing and supply chain, and really looking at that there's a lot of money transacted on a supply chain, right? And physical assets that are really costly. And so how do we ensure, and usually those are disconnected too from like there's this thing called electronic data interchange between
yeah.
suppliers, but then the financial institution isn't even aware that something got there, and you have to do invoices and purchase orders and things like that back and forth. And so really merging these all together into one kind of communication protocol is like the grand,
to make it atomic.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
And so now I know like my physical asset is digitized, and the dollar that I'm using is digitized, and the information that I'm sharing is digitized. So
exactly,
money becoming information, information becoming money, and now we can like really do. It's obviously a lot easier on a digital good, but a physical good's even like more complicated, but sometimes more expensive too. And so, yeah, we see this massive capability that Quant is bringing with Overledger, and really, partner with them. And we're in, and just so you know, like we have offices in Wales and London. So our company is actually, we're all over the, like as a normal blockchain company, we're very distributed and all over the place. And so we're from east to west coast in the United States, and we have people in South Africa and then also in the UK. And so we are kind of right there with Quant in the obviously London area, and then in Wales is where majority of our developers are at. So
I'm really happy you broached like this kind of digital twin process that is coming.
Right.
I mean, it's as Gavin and Dreesen said, software is eating the world kind of deal.
Exactly.
So there's something I want to ask, and you told us about before about how SIMBAChain themselves are not looking to tokenize their product,
right.
but in the future, and this I'm going to tie in not only tokenization but regulatory compliance here. I'm wondering if SIMBAChain via their smart contract platform could enable legacy companies or institutions to tokenize revenue flows, product flows, what have you. And then by doing so, and by creating this viscous membrane flow of this whatever you're tracking, you can then place regulatory agents on that, and then prove like real-time auditing of your revenue. Like, is that something SIMBAChain is exploring in any way, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're definitely get there. Our biggest thing right now is like, obviously a DoD connectivity thing. So we're standing up nodes within the different agencies at the Department of Defense. So there's like Defense, the Navy, Air Force. And so we're standing up those nodes right now, which is a big deal. So getting the first authority to operate and things like that is a big deal.
So are you aware of that Constellation, another Quant partner, is working in the same vein?
Sure. Yes. Yeah. We're aware of the DAG token and Constellation. Yeah. And that's why Simba's obviously we're blockchain agnostic, because obviously Boeing we're a partner, and they are working on two different things with Hashgraph and Hyperledger Fabric. So you can see there's going to be this multi-chain need
world,
where once again, Quant Overledger is a big play there, right? You have to have interoperability because it's just not going to be a one-size-fits-all. If somebody wants to transact in Ripple on their money side, but they're doing their supply chain in Ethereum or whatever, I mean, that contract really comes into play in a big way.
Absolutely.
And so that's where, and so once again, you can look back, like, to your point on the tokenizing things, like honestly, the digital dollar and all these things that are happening is going to happen, and you can already see China like big into it. And
the DCEP, absolutely.
They're requiring like Walmart and Starbucks, like these companies, to be on their blockchain. I mean, it's like to do the transaction, and it's just crazy. I mean, like, so US has kind of got to wake up a little bit more and understand, and the rest of and Europe's obviously getting there as well, but like the Department of Defense, I think there was like $35 trillion of journal entries. Obviously there wasn't that much money spent, but at the Pentagon they had to force journal entries because they couldn't rectify. It's not because the money was missing, it was just like they couldn't
trace it.
And you can't get the single origin of where it all came from.
Right.
That was a huge problem in 2008.
Yeah.
Like in the financial crisis, because you'd have these housing deeds that multiple people would own. They say, I own this, but you'd have multiple people claiming it.
There's no ledger that could say this is
yeah.
the single truth.
Global order.
Right. And so you really need this triple book accounting that allows
Bingo.
for, once again, the quant overledger treaty contract that could allow for if we could tokenize, like the National Defense Authorization Act is around over $700 billion. All you have to do is just tokenize every single dollar when it all flows through the Pentagon. It goes from, the Treasury. So the Congress approves it. President signs in office. Treasury then gets it out of the Treasury, sends it to Pentagon.
Mints it.
Pentagon then disperses it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not physical dollars, right?
It's digital dollars.
Already digital. But if we could tokenize every one of those dollars, you'll know, okay, where that goes all the way down to the subcontractor, and you can trace the physical assets that it purchased back to that tokenized dollar.
Absolutely.
And that's how it's
insane.
And I know I say it so simply, but that's really going to cause all this angst and this auditing and all this complication. But once again, sometimes I tell people it's not necessarily the technology that's the problem; it's more the people process. And so we'll get there, and there's people, like I said, there's like so many agencies that are getting involved in this, and you can see the Congress has been passing blockchain laws and kind of getting more in depth. But see, China's different because they can just force it all and like everybody's jumping on the ledger. Well, America's a little different. It's very more entrepreneur, and so it's really driven by commerce. And so how do we have this, put these things in the law? And
well, in a way, it's almost ironic that because America is so they're not draconian. Right. There's a lot of American companies that do want to participate in a blockchain ecosystem, but they're finding that they can't because the likes of the SEC have, and they've discussed safe harbor laws, but not really actually implemented it so that blockchains can seed their own ecosystems.
Right.
And so the authoritarian government structure of China is actually more equitable to this flourishing of the blockchain, this digital new world, than the American government is.
Right.
So.
And it's coming along. I mean, there's a lot of great congressmen, like Congressman Soto, who helped on one of the white papers with value technology to do for the Department of Defense, and kind of set the stage there. So Simba was kind of a key writer and editor of that paper.
Whoa, that's awesome! Oh yeah, we saw that. I completely forgot.
Yeah.
That was such a huge thing.
Yeah. So Jason Brett, and Whitney, they're awesome, and so I gotta give a kudos to them. So valuetechnology.org, you can go download that white paper. But it was like AWS, IBM, Consensus, Simba, all the kind of names that are involved in this, kind of put that together, and Jason Brett and Whitney, you kind of led the way there, so it was great. And then Congressman Soto, you can download it. It's got his picture and paper, his letters right there in the front. So
we'll link this in the video for anyone who is interested, because I think I've personally done this a disservice of not exposing this information more, because it's really foundational.
Yeah. It's really good. And like I said, there is a group of congressmen and senators that are really behind it. So I think there's exciting things coming down the pipeline as this gets more legs and things like that.
I just wanted to
awesome.
I just wanted to backpedal a bit, because I think it's a bigger deal than we kind of alluded to. So obviously you guys are working a lot in the US military and the Department of Defense with numerous contracts. And you said you were setting up nodes within the different defense agencies. Could you just give us an overview of your work with them? Because I believe it's supply chain based in the defense, isn't it?
Yeah. It's all supply chain based, and it's really supply chain risk management. It's DoD is the largest purchaser of anything. So they're bigger than most nation states. So I forget what they buy, but I don't know, it's crazy.
Like concrete, steel, like rare earth minerals.
The very volume of stuff is just insane. I mean, and they supply the national stockpiles and all this stuff. I mean, it's just crazy. So,
were they the ones that bought the oil off the market on Trump's behest?
Oh man, I have no idea. Or whatever. Yeah, I think it's just I think the complexity of it is massive, and so the interagency working, like the Defense Logistics Agency supplies a lot of these Air Force, Navy, Army, Marines, and how does that all interact? And then there's OEMs like Boeing and Lockheed Martin, these kind of OEMs, and then there's tier 1 defense contractors that are, you probably never even heard of them, and they're huge, and they're supplying all these critical components, and then the DoD wants to know, where are these microelectronics coming from? Like, where are they being sourced? And they could cause planes to drop out of the sky and things like that. So it's a big concern, and making sure where's the provenance of stuff coming from. There's conflict minerals, obviously, like cobalt, conflict, where things might be coming out of Africa, and make sure it's not coming from a conflict, and that child or slave labor is not involved. And I mean, that's a big deal. And so how do you validate all these things? And so we're setting up these nodes to provide the single source of truth of communication between these agencies, because they have their own silos, and there's middleware that connects them as they transmit that information.
Yeah, totally.
And so assets get lost, dollars get dropped, journal entries are forced, and there's just a lot of fraud and waste happening. So that's where we're coming in and just trying to. Yeah.
Cool. So when you say you guys are setting up nodes for them, what architecture are they using for their blockchain?
So there's a combination, because, like I said, the OEMs, like I don't know what Lockheed's doing, but like from Boeing's standpoint, they have Hyperledger Fabric.
Right.
From our standpoint, we're doing Consensus Quorum. Some of the DoD agencies. So you have to be able to cross-chain and communicate with those.
Right.
Because, like I said, there's going to be multiple things. And what happens when the digital dollar comes out? I don't know. Is it JP Morgan going to be, is Consensus Quorum going to be doing that? Or is going to be EY, or is it going to be PwC, or is it going to be, one of these consulting firms that...
Or is it going to be all of them?
Or is it going to be all of them come together that have, because they all are in there, right? I mean, they have the lobbyists, and they have the connections to get it done. So is the Treasury going to manage it all? And then they're like, but that could be a different blockchain than Hyperledger Fabric or Consensus Quorum. So, now you have a financial blockchain that you need to track the dollars, but you're buying physical assets on the supply networks. So these all have to be interconnected and communicating, things like that. Everybody is, once again, this is obviously a blockchain crypto podcast. The argument is out, like, why do I need to use blockchain for this? Like,
it's gone.
Because there's no way to cryptographically know that this happened and this has been approved, because if you're using a database, it can be hacked. It can be, there's all kinds of different bad things that can happen. So I'll just go and do my pitch on that part. But but really, it is a team sport, and that's what we're building. Is like, there's so many different stakeholders and partners that are involved, even interagency, and that's what we're building. So we're putting in Consensus Quorum nodes, getting the authority to operate, and then the Simba smart contract as a service goes on top of that, and it provides the queryability and the visibility and the APIs access, and then the data ingestion from different sources, public sources too. So like, we can grab Dun & Bradstreet information, so that you can do a background check on a company. You can also bring in, like, there's GuideUp, which is like where non-conforming and counterfeit information goes into. Log, FPDS, which is these contracting public contracts, because everything in America is always public. So we have Freedom of Information Act, so that all gets out there, and so you can query who won what contract, what are they supplying. And
so this is, for those that don't know, by what Joel means by the FPDS, he means the Federal Procurement Data System.
That's right. Yes.
And so the SBIRs, which are the Small Business Innovation Research funding, which Simba and Constellation have both received, would be part of this data system, correct?
Exactly. Yep. So everybody can see what we win, what we do. It's really good, but the problem that's not connected to the essential like supply chain that's happening, right? So it's only the top tier. You don't see what all the suppliers are doing,
like underneath
the
actual activity.
Right, the actual activity. So now we're supplying that and connecting in these disparate systems, and then tapping into like a Boeing ERP system or a supplier enterprise resource planning system that has their internal data, but they don't share that up. They only provide that the transaction happened. So that's where the zero stuff comes.
So this I have to bring up just brings up a topic about privacy for me.
Right.
How do you is this where ZKPs come in systemically? Like that when you have like cross-domain interactions, you can prove that events have happened, and when you need full auditing, you can trace it all the way back and get the full digest of the message, right? But when you have something sensitive that may disclose something about like private in business, is that where like a zero knowledge proof could come in? Like,
right, exactly. Yeah, and there's these. So, and the Department of Defense operates all off contracts. So we always talk about smart contracts are not smart and they're not contracts. They're just executable code, like a database, action that's taking place. So it's like a stored procedure in a database. So if something happens, then do this, right? Well, but there's these things called CLINs, which are the invoice line items in a Department of Defense contract or in a government contract. And then there's these things called CDRLs, which are actually the contract deliverables. And so you can actually codify your supply chain from the paper form so that the CLINs get executed, you get paid when that happens, and then you get the CDRLs, the deliverables actually take place, and then you can share that information up. And so putting that into a contract, and then there's that's what our initial DARPA project was all about. It was called the Military Interdepartmental Purchase Request. And so we created an API that could securely transfer and expose that in a RESTful way, so that interagencies could communicate better on a blockchain.
This to me, this sounds like the perfect recipe for something that insurance companies and things are going to be looking into as well, because I hear a lot about stories, and I'm sure you know about this, like in the supply chain, where different parties and entities have disputes over insurance payouts and things like that because they don't know where the issue happened via, during the transit or something like that. So, having this verifiable truth of, what went wrong where, insurance companies can quickly audit it without having to go through this whole dispute process. Are you guys looking at insurance, like anywhere in you guys, or any use cases for insurance? Or
we haven't looked at that at insurance. Obviously, it is a big one, and we have several use cases like on our website. Like we've got some housing ones and some solar transactions and different things like that. Obviously, banking is a big one that communicate. We have several banks that we're in talks with, but it's just our literally the supply chain and Department of Defense has consumed most of our time.
Right. Yeah.
It definitely will.
Building the tooling around these other things that we do have enterprise customers and the educational customers like Notre Dame and IUPUI and Portland State University and several consulting firms that use ours as for their educational networks and things like that that can help spur this kind of entrepreneurial. They don't have to have we bring the tooling so that they don't have to have all the knowledge of the bits and bops and the all the ones and zeros binary of what blockchain really is.
Well, what you're doing again, to bring a quant comparison sounds like exactly what they're aiming to do, which is you've abstracted away the fundamentals of what the blockchain represents, and then you can represent that visually so that the developer can interact and build smart contracts.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's,
it's a great match. It's a fantastic match.
Yeah, and that's where we just keep on listening to customers, what they want, and try to keep building. So we're a company of 20 people right now, 25 if you count the part-time group, but we plan on growing next year. So I'm sure we'll probably be up to 30 or 40 people next year, and
Awesome.
based on our current current revenue that's kind of coming in right now. So, and then, definitely by 2022, definitely a pretty a good sized small business, I'd say. We're not like we're a multinational company, but like one or two people in every location. So put it that way. So yeah, it's exciting, and we've just been having a great. Like I told the guy, I told my team every day, I'm like having the time of my life. Love working with you guys, and it's crazy because it's like before COVID, we're all like Simba was already distributed, so we were already all working from home, and that's how all of our company works. And
you took it in stride.
Yeah, exactly. We just took it in stride. We're on Slack, we're on Zoom all day long, so that's how we operate.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, man, your passion is it's highly noticeable, and it's great to see. So awesome job.
Yeah, and our team's passion comes out in the product too. I mean, they are amazing. Like I can't tell you how awesome the whole team is, and they're very dedicated, and I couldn't do it without them. So just definitely appreciate like our team and everything they put in. Blood, sweat, and tears into the product, and hopefully people enjoy it, what we're doing. So
I had just talking about scaling the company. Obviously, your business model is like a smart contracts as a service. You have like the ability to scale quickly because it's more of like a toolkit where you can people can just come in and use it. Are you guys looking at like integrating with like consulting partners and stuff like that, where they just bring in clients to use your toolkit or anything like that? Because that allows you guys to like scale up and like almost exponentially.
Yeah, we have. We still have direct salespeople,
right.
So we're still focused on that. But we're not. Yeah, maybe as we grow, we might have like these kind of affiliates and different things like that. We've talked about a program. We haven't really got that off the ground at this point because of the obviously just trying to pick our battles and figure where we're going to. But yeah, definitely it could grow exponentially. We currently have over 3,100 users on the platform.
So impressive.
We were saying we were expecting above 2K, but
yeah. So basically, we're getting like 10 a day right now sign up. That's kind of like insane. Average. We don't really do a lot of marketing. I mean, most of our stuff is just like you might see some press releases or some social media stuff, but we don't really spend anything on marketing at this point.
Or you might see a Dread Bongo retweet. Or
exactly.
Like
the community is awesome. Like, really appreciate everybody in the community that's like, because we're just trying to add more usability. Like, we want adoption, we want usability, to like feedback from the community, like what sounds like what'll help people to get, more value and try to build that out. So that's kind of where we're at right now. But yeah, we think by next summer we'll probably hit 5,000 users. And don't really know. And we get some pretty big signups because like when we sign up universities, because we have a lot of universities signing up to our platform, so we get like 100 at a time when that happens.
Right. Because
we sign up usually like several classes from professors. And we just joined Hyperledger Foundation, Linux Foundation too. So we're in that group now. Awesome. We're going to be doing webinars, so you'll see some Hyperledger webinars that come out about that. So
there are so many different verticals within the Linux Foundation. Yeah. Beyond even just Hyperledger, it's mind-boggling. It's a really big opportunity for you.
Yeah, so we're excited to be a member and like get. We're sad that there's not more conferences. Like we're doing these virtual conferences. It's kind of hard. Still not. Humans are social creatures. I don't care what anybody says. Like the virtual world is like it's okay, but
it's not quite the same.
Yeah, I love getting in touch, like meeting people in person. So hopefully, after vaccine comes out and things are settling down next year, I think it'll be exciting to see some of these conferences come back.
Well, also, so long as the world doesn't end for the West Coast, I think. God,
so bad. So, because we have employees out there, and it's just like they're sending us pictures on Slack, and I'm like, is that is this Photoshop? Like for real? And they're like, this is straight up from a camera. Like
it looks like Blade Runner. Is it Blade Runner?
The one. Blade Runner 2049.
Yeah,
yeah. Great movie.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely pray for everyone's safety out there. It's crazy.
For sure. I mean, it looks like actual hell there. So
exactly.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So,
But
Well,
but
go ahead.
oh no, I was just saying, yeah, it is exciting though that this COVID has brought up an opportunity that we've learned some people can, not everybody can work from anywhere, but it's kind of neat to see people can now start looking at other different places, like you're not necessarily working where you live and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna bring up two interesting topics, a little bit sideways from where we are. One is that you mentioned how smart contracts are basically just trustable code that you can execute or logic, right? And we featured, our first guest was Wyatt and Benjamin of Constellation before, and they're mentioning a future that they envision where almost post DLT architecture would make smart contracts not even a thing, because you'd have code being trustlessly executed within a variety of environments that aren't even just held to one platform. Right. Do you see and so therefore also placing the center point not on the blockchain that's executing the code, but on the logic of the code itself? How do you see that eventually, like SIMBAChain being a facilitator of that in the future? Yeah,
and this really comes into some of the security stuff that we've seen. So like the military has this thing called like secure enclaves, where it's like completely locked down and only executing of things that are happening inside of this secure enclave, basically this virtual container. And so I do see that, and then it has like at the end you get the certificate, right? That's like, hey, it's verified. Like I can go anywhere, right? I can take it, transact there with it anywhere in the world, and things like that. So, I definitely think it's just the early days right now, like for sure.
For sure,
I think
absolutely.
That could definitely grow, and definitely probably how the internet eventually was, like Web 3.0. How it eventually was envisioned, right? Where you're transferring money in a web browser and things like that. So I think we're getting there, and things will continue to progress
slowly. But we're gonna get there.
Right. Yeah. Slowly, but it just takes a while. Yeah, it takes a while.
And so the second thing I wanted to ask is SIMBAChain? Has the company ever been exposed to quantum infrastructure, like quantum computing or entanglement? And have you guys even contemplated like how DLTs will interact with a post-classical computation world? I mean, it's a difficult question, but
actually with DARPA, we're looking at a post-quantum zero trust security right now. So, so there's some cool stuff that will be coming out about that. But really, building stuff for post-quantum is a deal. And Notre Dame's got and Stanford both have like these quantum computers, and I think once things hit like 1,000 qubits, you can hack. You'll be able to hack the
most encryption today that is below a certain bit rate, I think.
Right.
Or not bit rate, but bit.
AES or AES 256 or whatever. So when that happens, that's definitely, I think some nation states will definitely be hitting everybody. But what you find is this is just bullets and bulletproof vests, right? So you're always having the armaments getting better, and the bullets better, and the armaments getting better, and the bullets getting better, and so it's I call it, it's bullets and bulletproof vests. It's
absolutely,
you're constantly fighting both, and so having things upgradable. So once again, we have versioning in SIMBAChain, and so you can query across multiple different versions of a smart contract and actually update smart contracts. So it's very much like the Open Zeppelin kind of concept, and as that kind of capability grows, we're on that, and we're trying to
and you're going to adapt all the way through.
Yeah, we're just we're going to try and adapt quickly and prepare for that post quantum kind of world. Yeah,
cool.
So,
well, I think we've kind of hit 10 minutes over when you said you would allocate for us. So.
Oh no, no problem. I enjoyed talking with you guys.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
Luke, do you have any questions to to ask?
I just wanted to kind of like end on a big home run. I just wanted to give us a rundown of like your long-term visions for the company and what you see for this space, you know, maybe 3, 5, 10 years down the line.
Yeah, I think our big vision is that we want to be in every university, and every
Wow.
kind of thing that people are like, hey, yeah, I use Simba to deploy this dApp or whatever. I just used Simba to do this transaction with a customer because it was easy. Whatever. So that's kind of like what we're trying to do, and build that out and kind of build this trust machine. Help the rest of the world build this trust machine between different entities. And we'll maybe only be a part of it, but that's kind of like our big goal. And we're kind of pushing out, creating new stuff, new product that way. So That's the kind of goal out there.
Well, you guys are definitely on the right track, man. Like, as you said, like,
Absolutely.
Everyone's very impressed with what you guys are being up to. Like, everyone just relates to your product. It's perfect. So congratulations, seriously.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and definitely, we've got some free T-shirt signups and stuff on our website, so people can go check that out, or on our Twitter page. And then we have also like I said, we have TruffleCon coming up that we'll be at, and some cool Hyperledger stuff that we'll be doing some webinars. So always check out our webinars. We got great stuff. App.simbachain.com is like the best place to kind of just get going, and we have a build your first dApp on our resources page too, so you can follow screenshots, and it takes just a couple minutes to build your first application on blockchain.
Awesome.
So
we're really looking forward to, because we're running gateways ourselves, and we're really looking forward to ultimately like using SIMBAChain potentially to build out a map in the future. So yeah, that's going to be fun.
Yeah, we'll be, and like I said, I think fourth quarter we'll have more of the Quant integration. Right now we have the token on the wallet side, on our HD wallet, so you can access Quant via there. Simba has an embedded HD wallet, so it's like it's not cached everything's cached in the browser, and that it's encrypted, so you don't have to worry about Simba doesn't store any keys. So if anybody ever wonders. We're all about, not your keys, not your crypto. I mean, that's our big thing with them. So we think everybody should handle their own keys. So that's what we do. And but we'll probably have some MetaMask integration too. You can do that. You can sign transactions offline too. We have that capability as well. So but app.chain.com is the best place to kind of start playing with our software.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, yeah, I think it's probably a good time to wrap up. I just wanted to say how appreciative we are of you coming on the channel and talking about it. As you said, as we said earlier, we're huge fans and love what you guys are doing, and it's been a real pleasure. Thank you, Joel.
Yeah, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, we'll look forward to having you featured again sometime. When the time is right. So
sure, absolutely. Yeah, maybe when we do the next version of the Quant stuff that we have coming out. So
absolutely,
cool.
That'd be perfect.
All right. Well, thank you, and take it easy and look after yourself, Joel.
Thank you.